Up next on Usala Radio, presenting The Wall, a new show for parents and teenagers navigating through difficult topics. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Edwin Desamour.
What's up, everybody? This is Edwin Desamour. You're listening to another edition of The Wall, where we witness achievements through life lessons. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Chicken Hawk, take us right into the topic introduction before we introduce our guest. Take it away, Chicken Hawk.
Think about it. We have all been more free in the last few months than we perhaps have ever been. The great pause for quarantine has given us many enormous amounts of time and a little extra money because of lost wages. What have you used for this time? On the wall this week, we are going to talk about life decisions we may have come through our time during the pause. Remember, the end of the show should be the beginning of your conversation. Don't be afraid to tear down the wall.
Thank you. Remember, the end of the show should be the beginning of your conversation at home. So we're going to start it off for you guys that are listening, and for families and folks and colleagues and friends and those who just tune on in. So we're just going to start off the conversation today, but we want folks to keep this conversation going, and we're hoping that we could plant seeds and ideas in the mindsets of folks, in their minds, and get folks to think. You don't have to agree with us. And before we get started in introducing our guests, just to let folks know again, this is not about agreeing. Disagreeing is okay, but at least we get the conversation started, and it's always good to hear the other side of the story. I want folks to really introduce themselves quickly, if you can. Let's start off with Stephanie, who you are, what you do, what you're representing.
Oh, hi, my name is Stephanie. I work in human resources as an admin assistant to the VP of our company. And what I do is I do LPI and trying to change the world one day at a time, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks.
Mr. Owens.
Hey, what's going on? So I'm Nate Owens. Professionally, I'm a buyer. I work for PGW. Personally, I try to keep as busy as I possibly can. I like all types of art, music, craft, anything outdoors, hiking, all types of unusual stuff that you don't usually find in a city boy. Just like Steph, I do LPI. I love working with a group of people. Steve and Jacinda, Steph, they're awesome. And I'm looking forward to this journey with them over the next couple months to get some projects off the ground.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Jacinda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacinda Padilla. I work for the Philadelphia Prevention Partnership. I'm a program coordinator. I coordinate different programs with senior citizens and youth, and I love what I do. I kind of feel like it fits in to who I am outside of my job, and I'm a mama of 2 babies, and that's pretty much it for me.
For joining us, Mr. Reyes.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Steven Reyes. I'm an operations manager for a local lawn care company named Green Lawn Fertilizing. Currently what I'm doing now is, working with the LPI group. I've been lucky enough to be a part of this year's class, and obviously my classmates are here. So it's been an honor to, like Nate said, get some things up and running, get things off the ground, and free time, spend time with my 2-year-old. It's pretty much a lot of fun, and big sports guy, obviously, with this going on, not too much sports going on, so putting my free time elsewhere.
Okay, and before we move on to the next one, LPI, you got a lot of folks, mentioning the LPI. For those who don't know about the LPI, real quick, who is and what is the LPI?
So the LPI is the Latino Partnership Initiative. It's for us. It's where we can gather folks who want to be more involved in the community and engage in the community and help grow and inspire folks in the community to make it better. That's pretty much the bread and butter of it.
Okay. Thank you. And later on in the show, we go get some more detailed information on that, how folks can look up and support
Absolutely.
part of that. Mr. Joshua Cuevas, returning returning family on the show. So, Josh.
Yeah, well, my name is Joshua Cuevas. I'm an entrepreneur, business owner, but more importantly, I'm a proponent of progress. Not in the LPI, but I feel like I should be after hearing that. Puerto Rico from North Philly, and I'm always about just progress. And you guys, Edwin, that's my mission is progress, no matter what scale, what goal, whatever. Personal progress to me is my mission in life for other people, especially from where I come from and people like me.
Thank you for joining us again, Josh. Appreciate it. All right, Chickahawk, what is the random question of the day so we could throw the guests off and get them thinking?
The random question of the day is, if you had to be a Disney character, who would you choose? Why? 60 seconds to answer the question.
If you had the choice to be a Disney character, who would you choose and why? Who wants to take a shot at that first?
I'm ready.
Go ahead. We're listening.
Okay, I will be Moana.
Okay.
Because, I just love the culture. I love the family unity that they have, and I like the fact that she kind of chose like her own path, and she still was like I love the connection to her roots, even though she didn't have a clue about it. So she kind of went on a journey to figure it all out, and she was able to step away from the path that someone else laid for her.
Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else?
I was gonna say Mulan for a lot of the same reasons you picked Moana. She was pretty, awesome, and didn't let anybody deter her from what she wanted to do. She was definitely about community. She wanted to serve her community and make her family proud, and she just wasn't gonna let anybody tell her how to live her life. I love her.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else now? Come on. I see some.
I'll take a stab at it. I would say Miguel from Coco, because on the outside, Miguel appears to be outgoing and very social, but it's all a front or a facade. He actually has a hidden side to him, which is he's an undercover musician. He feels like music is in his bones, but he can't really express why or understand why. So he eventually crosses over to the other side to uncover all the hidden secrets about his family that his family was holding back from him. And then once he crosses back without fear to profess that hidden side and to show it off, no matter what his family says about it. I kind of feel like I relate to him in those aspects because I feel like I have a hidden side that not many people know about unless I want you to know about it.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Josh.
I'm going to date myself a little bit, but the old school one was the Hercules, Disney Hercules. It was one of my favorite movies growing up. And not because he's half God, but because he was an outcast in that movie. He didn't realize who he was until later on he developed himself. And then he finally learned that he wasn't different in a bad way. He was different in a good way. And then everybody followed him, where everybody was at first making fun of him. Everybody was saying, making fun of his talents and his strengths, which later on became, people followed him for.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Steve.
Cool. So for me, I picked, I was going to go with Hercules, but I thought a little bit deeper. I'm going to go with Tarzan. So Tarzan, because he was another one who he was in a whole different world. Didn't know what he was, why he was different, and kind of adapted to his environment, adapted to what he really was, and showed pure strength to cope with that and to live a good life. He found a mate, and was able to start a new life.
Wow, interesting. Well, I'm gonna go with the genie on Aladdin.
Go on.
I want to be able to have an unorthodox style of helping folks accomplish or get to the place they want to go to or go after that goal. And because nothing's traditional, nothing should be traditional. When you look at the genie, it's almost like, is this guy crazy? You know, how is he going about granting this wish? And it's kind of like when you come alongside different people and we're in this together, but people should look at you like, wait a minute, are we supposed to go about it this way? And there's nothing wrong with that, of trying to find a different way of going about it, even if it's funny, even if it seems crazy. So, Chickoff, before we move on, do you give everybody 2 thumbs up with their choices? All right, you guys got the Chicken Hawk thumb. Y'all got 1 thumb.
Yeah, 1 thumb.
Two. He said 2. All right, we're going to move quickly into the weekly updates. Jersey boardwalks are about to reopen for Memorial Day. According to the mayor of Atlantic City, the shore points rely on tourist money to stay alive. Business can open Friday, May 29th. Some hotels will be able to open. All openings will have to follow safety guidelines from the city. Now, here's the question. There are 2 sides to this. This is one side of it. The shore is a tourist city. The shore is a tourist. The city survives off the tourist money, and on the other side, people in the crowds put the public at risk. What's the right decision and why? This is difficult. I mean, you hear a lot of people bashing folks that are opening up certain venues, certain businesses, but then we're talking about health. But then again, we're talking about people's livelihood, So I want to be able to dig into this and pick your brain on this. How do you guys feel about that? Because I'm just going to jump on here real quick because there is 2 sides to that. Yeah, there's a health risk, but then again, there is still a health risk because when you can't provide for your family, you got your high blood pressure, you got stress, you got depression, and if your body cannot function right, if your mind is not right, your body can't function right. So, who's willing to take this? I want to hear your opinion on this, Mr. Owens.
So yeah, I agree. There is a major health risk, major concern about the health risk, but businesses have been talking. They've been talking to each other. They've been banding together to figure out how to safely reopen. They've been in communications with their city officials, the governors. So there's been plans and talks since the day they had to shut down on how to get back open. This is not something new. The conversations haven't just started. This has been conversations since day one. And over the last 2.5 months, we as people, we have had over 2.5 months to practice, social distancing or physical distancing. And we as people or as the citizens, we have to do our part to make intelligent judgment calls when deciding to step out of our homes and into the public and being around other people. We have a right to our own social security and our own public welfare and the welfare of our neighbors and the people that we're around. So if by now, if we have not learned, anything from this social distancing or this physical distancing, then we as a city, a state, a country have failed terribly.
Wow.
People over the last 2 months have weighed very heavily over. You watch the news, it's always about Democrat versus Republican. They're arguing for their own personal gains, but it's the people, it's the citizens who have been suffering. So we have to protect ourselves. We have to make these judgment calls and we have to demand. I'm not saying we have to go protest at the state capitol with guns and jump into police officers' faces, but we do have to, in a calm and in a civil way, demand that our society get back to a sense of normal. So we have to do what we need to do to ensure that these numbers are still going down. So that means washing your hands, covering your cough, wearing your face mask when you go out, because that's the guidelines that the country wants you to follow, and your state and your city. And then also, if you are a senior citizen, if you're over a certain age, you may want to consider not taking this trip down to the Jersey Shore this weekend. Not to say that you have any
casinos, man. How you going to tell these folks that? We're talking about the casinos.
Well, you may
citizens in casinos.
That's very true. But when I think of the Jersey Shore, I don't just think of Atlantic City. I think of the Jersey Shore as a whole. All the way from Central Jersey all the way down to Cape May. So you may want to consider, for this busy weekend coming up, you may want to consider stepping back from this weekend, let the crowd, go and have their weekend off, and then, maybe slowly start to incorporate, the senior citizen group. And that's when I say senior citizen, I'm not talking about, you know, old. I'm talking about people that are just at a certain age and considered to be at a higher risk health wise. So I just think that those people should just maybe consider uh, stepping back. But at the same time, you as a person, as an individual, can make that judgment call for yourself. Because again, we've had 2 months, over 2 months to practice this physical or social distancing. So if you can't implement this into daily society, then we have failed miserably. I think it is a right decision to begin the plan of reopening. This might be a tricky weekend because this is the weekend where everybody wants to rush down to the shore because it is the beginning of the summer season. But at the same time, we have to start somewhere. And I do agree, these businesses, they have to get back open because a lot of them are small businesses. They have to feed their families. They have to ensure that their families can at least attempt to be healthy.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Josh.
Well, I just think he covered it. He covered it. He covered it well. Especially to me, what I was gonna say is just, to me, it really is an encroachment on our social justice. As far as, America was founded on freedom, and all our freedoms have been taken away at just a snap of a finger. Which to me, that's the most disgusting part. To me, out of that, we gotta allow our people, even though the majority of people, I say, are careful, are taking standards. There are the handful of people that are always the outliers, that will always be reckless, always doing foolish things, and that's just gonna happen. And I know it's not to say, yes, some will get sick. So what? Those few out of the masses. Listen, every person who gets sick, every person who dies from this is another valuable life. But at the end of the day, we have to think about our freedoms, and we have to give people freedom of choice. That's what America is. And our freedoms have been taken from us. We have to allow ourselves to be able to make the certain judgments. So I like it that is opening back up. I just hope people, just like he said, just go about it in a smart way. They are cautious. They do try to keep their distance. If they're not feeling good, not to go out. And most importantly is just be careful, man. Don't be sneezing on people. If you're going and you're touching something, use your hand sanitizer. It's very common sense, things. But most importantly, what I fear about this whole pandemic, and how you say the great pause, is the mental status of people, the mental state. So, just getting out, getting some sun, getting some fresh air, that can help somebody's mental state dramatically. And that's my biggest concern, is the mental state of the country, more than the financial.
Oh, thank you. The rest of the guests agree with Josh and Nathaniel?
I agree for the most part, but I also think people are not in a rush to get back to work. People want to feel safe. Like people aren't in a rush to get back to their 9 to 5s that they don't like. Like people do want their freedom. It's a tough balance. Like you want to be safe, you want to be healthy, but you also want to feed your family. And I think that it's up to the people to decide. I don't think that our government should decide if we open or if we don't open. Like, no, that's the thing is, like, once you start giving up those civil liberties, you don't get those things back. Like, once you give the government a piece of control over something, they're not going to be like, okay, now you can have back, now you can decide for yourself. And I feel like right now, like, if the Constitution says like the government is for the people, by the people, I feel like we don't have great representation of that right now. A lot of those people that are sitting in high offices right now have a hand in a lot of these small businesses or businesses that they just want to, have people go back into and risk their lives and not be compensated well. Compensation is a big motivational factor for wanting to go back to work. And I feel like if people are going back, pay them well, make sure that they have all the safety guidelines that they need. And I feel like each individual has to make that choice for themselves and shouldn't be disciplined or get in trouble for not wanting to return back to work when it's a crisis. I feel like we minimize it because we know we have to go back to regular life.
Mm, mm. Pretty interesting because I think about, and I'm using a crazy example. Like I'm a fan of The Walking Dead, right? So if you're stuck in the building, there's zombies outside. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to go out there and get some food.
Yeah.
What are the risks? Sooner or later, some people are like, hell with that. I'm not going out there. There are zombies out there. There are monsters out there ready to come at you, and you're at risk of getting bitten and being turned into a zombie. But at the end of the day, you sitting there, you're looking at your family. I got to get out there and scavenge. I got to get out there and bring some food back in order for us to survive. So it's a rough dilemma to be. We are put in a rough dilemma on both sides, And at the end of the day, too, I is my first time really thinking about that by listening to you guys about our rights. I should have the right to still want to go to a restaurant. For those who, there should be those who say I'm gonna stay home and be safe, and then some folks say, look, man, I need to go sit somewhere and eat, and I'm willing to risk that. But Josh.
So one thing too, I always try to stray away from is, in politics and in everything, we always go like how you mentioned, is it right or wrong? Who says it's right or wrong? You have to think of massive millions of people. Every situation is different. So the person who's sitting on a couple $100,000, their business is maybe online, they can still do things. They're not worried about the same thing as the mother of 3 who doesn't have the job and the baby's 6 months old and they don't know. Every situation is different. So right, wrongs, I don't think that's a really fair context to even put it in, because it's going to be right to some people and it's going to be wrong to some people. And, we just have to look at the overall fundamentals, as like Stephanie said, like Nathaniel said about, our rights. And this what America is about. How you said, we have to take the risk, yes, but it is our right to choose. And, there is no right or wrong.
And before we jump on to the next topic that's on the wall, I just want to, towards the end of the show, one of the questions I want to ask for the LPI is, are these some of the things that you speak about during your class and your sessions, or having folks as you're bringing up leaders, like when you're put in this position, is there a wrong or right? So we're going to talk about that later on. I'm going to ask that question. But what's next up on the wall is philosophical discussions, right? Is poverty in society inevitable, right? Why or why not? Can we stop poverty? Steve, you're thinking there.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, man. I think every continent, country, state, city, you're always going to have poverty. It's just there's always going to be the rich, there's always going to be the poor, and ultimately, I think it's up to you as a person to identify if you're living in poverty, if you're okay with, if you consider what you're living in poverty, it's ultimately up to you and how you feel about that. But I just think it's something it's always going to be a part of our society. I think our country was built off that, and it gained a lot from that, dating years and years back. And the rich got rich from poverty, and it's just something that we want to fix. It's a tough one to do.
Well, thank you. Anybody else want to jump on that? Josh?
Well, Edwin, I'm very big on the victim mindset. I refuse to accept that from anybody in my life. I don't really like when people have a victim mindset. And it's just like Steven said. I mean, it depends, right? Because you get somebody from Africa, they come over here, they can be literally homeless. And to them, that's still not poverty, because people will literally give them money on the street. So once again, it comes down to perspective, but also, listen, man, we have, whether it's God, whether it's the universe, or whether it was just evolution, we have these built-in systems of free will. We choose what we do and what we don't do. And at the end of the day, even the person who hates their job has the choice to do something about it or not. It doesn't make them less of a person. It doesn't mean they're good people or bad people. I'm just simply stating that we have choices and people make choices. Just like people have choices with weight or whatever it may be, you have these choices. So I think there will always be poverty and not, or whatever else. I don't want to say riches,
Well,
but
it's pretty deep that you said that, because I think about it when you really break down like society and how it is. Should someone be willing to take that as fate? And you shouldn't. And I believe like one of the reasons like the LPI exists to tell you that you can be better than your current state and you can reach to this level. Let us do this. Let's do this together, right? But and I could be wrong. Anyone here on the show could disagree with me, but I believe that poverty is like 95% mental. It's a mentality. I'm from the community. I can complain a lot. I'm not somebody that's an outsider, but and I'm also someone who feels as though this is why I might start throwing some jabs. And it's okay to disagree with me. I'm not gonna get mad at anybody. I believe that a lot of times the majority of our nonprofits are the worst things that ever happened to our communities, because when you think about, for example, I'm using a crazy example again. You ever see when someone has a wild or animal from the wild in captivity? Why are you not releasing that animal? Because it forgot how to hunt and won't survive. So when you have certain nonprofits who come in who just give, and let me take care of you, you have a society who's either like, I don't want to do anything. I'm too lazy. I don't want to hunt. I don't want to get out there and work and grind, and you have this mentality that, maybe this is my fate. They're here to take care of me. If you understand where I'm coming from, and I'm gonna throw in this real quick. Working for a school, I was pretty impressed with, and talking to other folks who are in the education field when they're doing online schooling. And a lot of our kids don't want to log on. They don't want to learn. Our parents are not, and I'm someone who has to struggle with that, calling parents and trying to convince them why education is sacred, why you need to learn, right? But what I'm impressed with a lot of our immigrant families, their kids are logged on, but you have their parents in the background trying to learn with them because they want to know, they understand that, let me take advantage of this. If you understand where I'm coming from. And I also want to learn, we have folks that have been in this country, our own folks, for 30, 40 years that still don't speak a dime of English. And we have free English classes out here. There are certain steps we have to take to move forward. So, Stephanie, I know you was going to jump in there.
I'm just trying to actually process it. Like, I hear what you're saying, and I hear what Joshua is saying. I think, and I hear what Steve is saying, and I think that there isn't one place in this world that hasn't been touched by poverty. And I think the largest pandemic is poverty. And I think there is a mindset to people who are in poverty. Yeah, if you're not in poverty, you can see things are endless for you. But when you have limited resources, you feel like this is where I'm at. This is what I have to survive. And sometimes I feel like there's a maturity level that comes with wanting to use those resources. We're dealing with a lot of generational trauma. People don't always feel like they deserve the help, or they don't feel like they can do it. They don't feel like they
mentality.
Yeah, it is like, but I mean, I just think that poverty will always be existent. I just don't think that our people have to be in poverty. I feel like we can pull ourselves up together as a community, but there will be poverty. Like, it'll touch everybody at some point. Like,
well, definitely, you're gonna have folks, and we can look at our, I don't know about you guys, but the majority of people, we can look at our own family members. We have family members that opportunities and everything that is set for, and a lot of us, we love our family members, but we're like, oh my God, you still don't want to do nothing. You still want to lay on the sofa. You still want to cry the victim. You still want to go to someone who's willing to listen to you and say, I don't have this, I don't have that, but personally. And that's one of the reasons I look at sometimes in my community, because we have so much talent in our community. And this is the reason why you guys have the LPI. We have so much talent where this is one of the reasons that we have, someone like Josh who comes from our community, our folks who say, you know what, I refuse to stay here. And he's about motivating people. Like, look at me. If I'm knocking down doors, why can't you? And it's kind of like step into the plate and do that. But I also, people get mad at me when I say it's a mentality. And before I move on with that, I just want to say for folks who do know me, like say for Waterloo Playground, right? They know they're familiar with me with doing Waterloo Playground. Now I had a system hooked up where I brought food, but I told the kids, okay, you gotta pay 50 cents to make your sandwich. You gotta pay a quarter for the chips, and you gotta pay a quarter for the drink, right? And people are like, why are you charging these kids, right? I said, nothing in life is for free, but the magic here is that it's their money, right? So at the end of the week, I said, this is how much we made. Give me a shopping list so we could come back and bring more food. So they keep pouring into their own stuff. Now, someone one time came and said, that's a shame. What about the kid that doesn't have a quarter? I said, well, you see that clipboard right there? They said, yeah. I said, well, they got to clean the bathroom. They got to clean outside. They got to sweep. They got to do something to earn their keep, right? Some folks were still angry that I've done that. But I truly believe that in life, you have to earn yours. You're not going to sit around and think, let me just go make me a sandwich.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I do feel like working in the community, you're always going to come across people that know how to use the system. But what I really love about my job is that we are able to kind of connect people to resources, but we also try to help them be able to get out of that mindset, especially when it comes to our young people, because I feel like there is a lot of generational trauma. I grew up in poverty. I grew up in Kensington, but I was also able to learn from the mistakes of my parents and learn from their strengths too. And I was able to have people to be able to pour into me, and for me to be able to make that decision of, yes, I want something more, and yes, I want something different. But at the end of the day, it comes down to one to know more and do better, and then also being able to pour into somebody else. Now that I know better, what am I going to do with that information? How am I going to help somebody else? And that's why I think the nonprofits and these after school programs and the people that work in care in the schools, to be able to be that change, you have to be the change that you want to see at the end of the day.
Thank you for sharing that.
And can I piggyback off of what you just said too? The very first thing you said is that there's always going to be somebody that knows how to work the system. And one of the things I've learned is that the people who know how to work the system are sometimes some of the most intelligent people. It takes a lot of brain power to figure out how to get over or how to work the system. And I'm like, if you take that same energy and apply it to education or apply it to, being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, you could go so much further. The people that know how to work the system are sometimes the smartest people in the community that actually don't have to be in poverty and can sometimes be leaders to bring people around them out of poverty as well.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that and bring that up. I had a reporter one time. We kind of clashed, and the article really didn't happen because the reporter wanted to do a cover on how folks were taking advantage of the system in our community, right? And it was almost like kind of like villainized, like making folks look like the villain. I could complain, but then I feel some type of way when the outside come in and start saying, "Hold up, you trying to say this about my community?" But at the end of the day, we have rich folks skimming off the top. What is their excuse? They got money. When you have folks that have crumbs and they're working the system to their advantage and they're barely making anything, so they're hungry, right? Now, still not justifying it. But then at the end of the day, what about the folks that are working the system from the top? The powers that be, the government that be. Hold that thought, Stephanie. We got to keep moving real quick. Chicken Hawk, the topic of the day. Did I lose Chicken Hawk? I think I lost Chicken Hawk. All right, I'm gonna run right in there for him. There was a video called Beast Mode. Have anybody ever seen that video yet?
No.
All right, it's by a Dr. Eric Thomas. I'm gonna suggest that folks look at the video. Very powerful, right? In this video called Beast Mode, presenter Eric Thomas tells the following story. Every day in Africa, a gazelle and a lion get up. The gazelle wakes up every day knowing that in order to survive, it has to outrun the fastest lion, or at least outrun the slowest gazelle. The lion knows that for it to survive, it has to be able to beat the gazelle. Just because the lion is the king of the jungle and can destroy the gazelle doesn't mean that the gazelle just can lay down and accept its fate. Every day the gazelle runs from the lions, through this difficult life situation that they encounter each day, they don't just lay down and give up. During this time of our difficulty in this great pause, what difficulty have you been faced with? How have you been fighting back in your times? This is my question to you guys. I'm about to pick somebody. Steph.
I think I've been trying to deal with, I don't like this term social distancing. I think that's like the most terrible thing we could have ever named this thing. Physical distancing, okay, cool. But I think I'm just ready to be in community with people. Like, I hate my cell phone at this point. I hate my laptop at this point. I'm ready to sit around with real people and have one-on-one discussions and share food and laugh and bump elbows, because we don't shake hands anymore. Like, and I'm just, how I'm dealing with that, I think, is I got a kitten. My son is spending more time at home with me, so we're pulling out. I didn't think I was going to pull out baby books of him until like he was like way older, but I was like, this is the perfect time. Like, we literally have nothing else to do. We started a garden, so we're growing our own food. So yeah.
All right. Well, we have so much time during this quarantine that we don't normally have. My whole thing is like, my question is not just you guys, just the people in general, those that are listening. What are we doing with our time? Are we just sitting around? Like, a lot of times we make excuses before this quarantine. I wish I could do this, and you have goals, you have all types of things, and folks, our number one excuse is we don't have time, right? Is for the gym, right? Oh, I wish I had time to go to the gym, but my life, I got kids, I got this, I got that, I got so much going on. Whatever it is, I wish I could go back to school. I wish I could study this, or I wish I could start working on planning on this and that. Now that we have all this time, what are folks doing with it? Are they taking advantage? Are they grinding? Even if it's just taking care of your house. Some folks, but I've been willing to paint my room. I've been wanting to paint the whole house. I've been willing to do so many things, or fix my yard, or plant a garden. What are folks doing with their time? Are folks just sitting around?
I would like
go ahead. Go for it, Jacinda.
People are not just sitting around. I feel like I have no time between virtual learning with the kids and keeping them active and keeping them creative and doing Zoom calls and check-ins and just and cooking, because the kids are just always hungry. Like, I live in the kitchen. I just feel like I'm always busy. I've been taking trainings. LPI still has been meeting and planning for the future. I have also been, actually has encouraged me so much to spend more time on myself, because I kind of was like, okay, like, if I felt like I barely had time for myself then, I really feel like I don't have time for myself now. So I kind of had to like buckle down and say, when is it going to be time for Jacinda? Like, even at home, I'm not finding the time for myself. So I kind of just been getting up extra early before everyone and going to bed extra late and working out, meditating, TED Talks, YouTube, all kinds of stuff. So I don't think that people are just sitting around. I think people are being creative and finding things to keep themselves busy, as we should.
You know what? I'm going to agree and disagree with you. I agree. But believe it or not, just listen to you talk. You're grinding already. When you're talking about you're in the LPI, you're planning, you're in the grind. You know what I mean? You're taking care of you. But I also, I'm an observer also. I sit back, and I'm familiar with a lot of folks, and I know a lot of people. A lot of folks are just sitting around. Everybody's just talking about the nail salons being open, the hair, the nails and everything else. But a lot of times my question is, because I knew a lot of these folks had dreams and ambitions. Like, I want to start my own business. I want to do this. I want to do that. And folks, this pause that we have for many folks, for not everybody's in that same position, but you got some folks just sitting around not doing anything, right? Even now, like, this is the opportunity for folks to learn while they're listening. If you're listening right now about the LPI, you shouldn't be like, wow, that sounds like a cool organization. As soon as we offer this, you should be Googling or trying to get that information so you could learn how to be a part of it or recommend it or refer someone. Josh, you was about to jump in there?
Yeah. So I've been on both sides of the coin actually. And this is one thing that I always try to tell people is like I talk about things that I've gone through, and I always try to put myself in the mindset of when I go through them. I guess it's the leadership mindset is when you go through them. I'm always thinking because you got the voice that says you can chill, you can do what you want. Then you have the other voice that says I kind of got to break through what I'm going through because there's somebody else I could tell them. So the first when this first happened, literally we quarantined a day before my 30th birthday. I was planning to go to Spain, Italy, and Greece, which was my dream trip. Never been, nothing.
I had that set up for August. It got canceled.
So exactly. Not only did I lose my trip, I lost my money because they weren't giving money back, voucher, whatever, right? So I went my first week. I'm not gonna lie, I bummed it out. I was kind of like, I don't want to say depressed. I hate saying that word, but I was definitely down in the dumps morally and emotionally. And I'm like, man, I was like, I'm big on vision. I'm like, man, this is literally how I envisioned my 30th. Oh my gosh, it's another dream come true. And now this happened. And I was kind of down in the dumps, but I had to fight myself after about a week and a half of just literally doing nothing. I felt it. I started to gain more weight. I felt sluggish. I felt unproductive. I just didn't like how I feel. And then it goes to the other side of being productive and then starting to get busy and forcing yourself. And then once again, it comes down to personal situations. I don't have kids. I don't have those responsibilities. My sister, I speak to her on the other hand. And as Jacinda said, she's been nonstop. She's been busier than ever since this happened because she has 2 boys and she's a nurse and she's in college. So she's been busier than ever. I had to have this conversation with her as well. And, she was saying, she needed her time as well as trying to be productive. And, once again, it's situational, but at least in my situation, I fought my personal laziness just because I don't like feeling that way. And the last couple of weeks, I've just been working my butt off. You can see behind me, I painted my entire walls of whiteboard. This wall is about 10 feet long. My entire wall is a whiteboard. And I got a lot of work. I got a lot of things that I got to put. And I think that's one thing everybody here, if they haven't, should try or testify that people in our community don't understand the power of writing things down. You have to write things down. You have to see it. And me, I'm a very visual person. That's why I got a big old board on here. But whether it's paper or whatever, write it out. Let you see it. Because sometimes you think of something, when you put it down, you realize it's stupid. You're like, nah, it's not a good idea. Or vice versa. You write it down and go, that's great. That's genius. So listen, both sides of the coin. Some people are going to be lazy. Some people are going to be productive. Some people are going to be busy. Some people are going to choose. Once again, it comes down to what the topic of this whole day is choices. You choose. You choose what you want this break to be.
How much you want it.
That's it.
Steve, what are your feelings on this, Steve?
Yeah, man. Again, I'm on the side where I've been deemed essential. So ever since this started, I've been going to work every day. So for me, it's kind of been routine. On the other hand, I'm managing how to maintain social at home. I feel for my wife. She's a hairstylist who obviously can't do anything in this. So I've got to see her grow, as a mother and as a teacher to our 2-year-old. And I think she's taken this time to it's funny because we can't blame anybody else for how we raise our son, because guess what? Our son is home with her. So it's our responsibility to say, all right, look, now we have that time in those molding years of their age to raise them how we want to raise them, teach them what we want to teach them. And she's been doing an excellent job doing that, on top of keeping her sanity of not letting her dreams go, being an aspiring hairstylist and owning her own business. So when I see that, it's again, there's people who are taking advantage of this time and letting it go, but then I see the hustlers like my girl is right now, keeping up with her parenting, her education, her abilities to do hair. I even let her hook me up. You know what I mean? So letting her practice and letting her get her craft together. I think that's where I stand. I think you just have to be that the one to get up and do it. There's the lion. It comes back to the lion and the gazelle. First one up's got to go up and get it. Doesn't matter. You got to attack and take advantage of every opportunity you can. I think a lot of people, some people have, and some people haven't. So again, as Josh said, there's two sides of that coin, but I'm seeing a lot of it.
Steve, how can folks reach out to the LPI, or if they're interested about future programming or projects you guys are working on?
Yeah, I mean, we all have emails through LPI. I think I can let Jacinda speak on that more. She's, the great thing about it is that Jacinda works for the partnership already. So she has access to the email. So Jacinda.
I think he put stuff on mute. So LPI is actually hosting a junior LPI, and we're looking for youth between the ages of 14 and 17. And I think this is a great way for young people to take advantage of time in the great pause, just like we all have been. And we're going to host about 5 weeks of classes, and they'll be held Saturdays, and we'll go through things like culture and history. How many kids in Colombia do we don't know Puerto Rican and don't know about their own heritage? They don't know because they're 4 generations in here. So we'll be learning about culture and history. And I feel like a lot of adults have learned a lot too. And this all has been born out of our own experiences this year. And although I have worked for the partnership for 3 years, I never really knew that much about LPI until this year. And I have grown tremendously. So we'll have classes on culture and history, leadership.
Is there a Facebook page, Instagram page?
So it's the Philadelphia Prevention Partnership, and on Facebook, and then Phila Prevention Partnership on Instagram. And you can email me jpadilla.pp@gmail if you want an application. The flyers and everything, all the information is out.
So there it is. You put it out there. So there's no excuse for folks. Am I right, Josh? There's no excuse for folks. We just put some information out there. Am I right, Steve? We just put information out there for folks who are saying, no, I want to do better. I want to do something. Or certain parents who are saying, I want my child to do better, but I don't know what's out there. So for those who are listening, there we go. There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
Can I say one last thing? I'm going to shut up. But I really want the statement to be heard is you have to understand that being resourceful is the ultimate resource. So, once again, going back, I grew up in the same poverty and all that stuff, but no resources at all. But you learn to be resourceful. My grandfather, I always love talking about him. He used to take a old manga, I used to say a water hose, right? You cut the water hose, put a little bottle cap he would find or something, put it attached to the hose, and we had like this water fountain. And I mean, somebody else would go to Walmart and buy $50 something, but we didn't have that. So his resourcefulness, I learned from that, and I believe everybody should understand that being resourceful. Same thing, a real life example. When I went to college, I didn't know nobody in my family went to college. So when I went, I didn't know about grants. I knew about them, but I didn't even attempt to try to get them. I graduated from Masbom on Frankfurt and Allegheny. When I went to college, got $100,000 in debt. And coming out, I would complain to everybody. Man, they got me. Now I'm in all this debt. I'm da-da-da-da. I never even tried to get a scholarship. I never even tried to get a grant. So if I would have went and looked back at my mindset then, if I would have tried to be resourceful and try to find the things for minorities, find the things for Latinos, find the things for people from inner cities, I probably wouldn't have that debt. So once again, being resourceful is one of the best things that I learned as a resource. You don't need specific resources more than you need to learn to be resourceful.
Or use what you have. Any projects that you're working on that you'd like to know anybody about, Josh? I know that you do a lot of speaking engagements, you travel and do a lot of motivational.
Well, besides any marketing thing, right now, unfortunately, everything with live events and people is shut down. So I do a lot of Zoom conferences. I try to help people one-on-one mentoring or whatever. But I'm a developer in the city, so I've been building North Philly up. That's another thing. I see people talk about gentrification and complaining about all these people coming in and buying the land. Why aren't we? I am. Where's the rest of our people that complaining instead of putting our resources together and buying up those neighborhoods and fixing them for ourselves? At least that's what I'm into, and that's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to gather more developers that are from the community, that are Latino or African American. Honestly, I don't even care about the race. I just care about you caring where we're from and what our environment is. So, to me, I want to be around people that want to build the community up and not talk about it.
Well, thank you. And I most definitely want you guys to connect. Josh, I want you to connect with the LPI. I think that would be a great partnership. I'm going to jump up to the quote of the day. Courage is asking for a time out to shed a tear, dust yourself off, and then get back into the ring and fight like you've never fought before. Right? This show wasn't about belittling about anyone or trying to say, who's better or who's not doing what. This is about trying to encourage people and let people know that, you have it in you. You have it in you. Matter of fact, if you're watching this Zoom conference and this show, if you look at each person in the screen, and everyone has a story that hasn't been told. And I could tell you, I know these folks and I know how they personally fought to get where they at, even to get up and breathe today, but to be successful and pushing. That's one of the reasons I'm honored to have them all on the show. And I want to thank you guys for being on the show and being an example of what it is to fight, what it is to get up and say, I want to do better, but not being selfish about it, because you guys are also saying, let's do this together. Let's get there together, and also willing to share your own personal stories with people and be an example. So I applaud you guys. I actually look up to all of you guys. And I think I'm safe to say I'm the oldest one on this damn Zoom, but also humble enough to say I look up to each and one of you, and I respect all of you for what you do. And I can't wait to see what you guys do. I can't wait to sit back and like, wow, not just sit back, but help encourage, but root you guys on. So I want to thank all of you guys, and hopefully you guys will come back on the show again. We could do another show. Our time is run up, but this was fun. This was very informative. And I'm just going to end it with this and letting folks know this should be the beginning of your conversation at home now, right? It's about getting up, doing what you have to do, dust yourself off, whether you're the lion or the gazelle. It's about getting your grind on. Thank you, everybody.
Wait. We got to thank you, Ed. Everybody, we got to thank Ed because, he's one of the person I admire the most in the entire community. He knows my love and respect for him is out of this world. I'll do anything to support him and what he has going on. There are not as many men as there needs to be like Ed. So I really want to commend you and being a great father, Chicken Hawk, a great child. All of these, you raised tremendous children. You are the man. So thank you.
Thank you. Be safe, everybody. Be healthy. All right.
Guys,
Thank you.
nice to meet you guys. Thank you.